Mark 5:15. This is part 7. And I'm going to pick right up where I left off. And that was right here. Whoops. Need the lights on. Okay, I'm trying to think of what I kind of promised what I was going to go through or start here, but anyways, this picked up with the story that Jesus gave him permissions to enter the goats, and the herd rushed down to the lake. And then the herdsman went and told the other villagers or those in the city what had happened, and they came. As they came, they saw, not observed, but saw, and this would be because they were coming at different times. But this is going to speak as a group. As they came, they saw the male who had demons. He was sitting clothed and in his right mind. Because they all would have known who he was anyway. This is a text that's not needed. And the herdsman described to them again, because they had went there, and then they seemed to want to go back and learn more from Jesus, or to experience his teaching, because they most likely had heard of Jesus, but they witnessed, and it's pretty much like he's here is when they ran in and told them. And at this point, it doesn't explain or say that they went any farther than where he was at. So, how long did this take for these herdsmen to run in there and then come back? And this is why, when I'm trying to logically figure out how far the city was away from the graveyard to the graveyard, had a field where the goats were grazing, and then they had run down to the sea. So this is just to make sure that I have in my mind the location as good as I can. And so when the herdsman described it to them again, because these people would have been coming in at different times, and they would have kind of like, yes, this is the this is the male who did what we said, and you can see here's this man that you recognize. He's in his right mind right now. So there would have been conversations, probably with other fishermen around that area for Jesus to stay there. I'm putting that in as an extra because I'm sure that when they got to that shoreline, they got there because that was a place for that village to bring out their boats to get fish from the lake. So I just want to try to give an explanation why Jesus would have been there a little longer with them. Okay. So we don't have any text that says that, unless when the stories get put together, that there's text that can be put in here to say that there are others that he's teaching here. Now, then the unbelieving Jordanians. Now, because I told you that's what I've assigned for that area, the name for that area, I'm calling them Jordanians here because later when we find out, when Pilate finds out Jesus was not born in his area, that he sends him to Herod, because he was under Jared's diction. I think they would have used the word Gali, but if he says he was Israelian, so this is just me trying to be correct here of who the word they are at this time. And they begged him to leave their region. See how it's called a region here in the text? Now, for those that were in the last video, watch that. See how they say country here? This is the trickery that they do, use the words differently when they're talking about they know the answer, but they don't put the answer in the right location. Of all the little adding ins of every word, that's an example that was that quick, that far away, that they could not put in the correct words. My whole understanding of what's our Creator's given me to know is that the first writer's text of Jesus' accounts were first written by those that had witnessed him and were true believers, and those people I call Israelis. Those that didn't believe him, they were born in descendants of Israel, but they are known as Jews. And so this is separated in the text when I speak of Jews and when I'm speaking of Israelis. One is a believer, a knower of Jesus, and the other are those who reject our Creator's teaching. Our Creator's teaching of how to his promise of allowing people to enter into heaven and live with him forever. Now, Jesus told him, that would have been the man that he saved, to go home or cast the legion of demons out of, to go home and tell them what, not great things, just what your king has done for you. So somehow the demons were able to enter him even though he was a believer. So when you think of being demon possessed, that how did this guy get these demons? Because he was evil, and things like that. The text is revealing to us that Jesus helped him because he knew he was knew that he was obedient to our Creator and was a righteous male. And it's hard for me to say how a righteous male would have all these demons in him. The only way that I can explain it is our Creator did this, just like when it comes up to Judas. If you didn't have Judas betraying him to turn him over, then we wouldn't have a betrayal. So it was our Creator's will to put people in these positions to do these things, okay? For Jesus to come along and then do and fulfill everything. So when you think of Judas rotting in hell at all time, I don't really see that, okay? I just don't, because the fact that you still needed him to betray him, and even though he was made a disciple, the disciples pretty much were supposed to be believers of him and were willing to drop what they're doing to come along with him, okay? So just remember, Judas did heal people as well as the others when the disciples were sent out. So our Creator gives everybody what I call two paths of everything that we think of. Every thought has two paths. One is lower than the other. if you keep taking the lower path, then you become more evil. The other path that we take, we're still given another choice of more evil later, but it depends on how we make our choices. And this man might have made a choice once out of a whole long time that there it happened to him or caused it to happen to him because of the will of our Creator. He knows our Creator. For me to let you know what I think and I believe and I know, our Creator created everything, even us. He knows our thoughts, and He knows everyone out there, and He knows what He's given each of us as thoughts, and pretty much creating time, okay, by how these choices that we make dictate the outcome or the action that's going to happen in time. So that's just letting you know and understand that because when the word was Lord, but I changed it to King because Jesus is our King and He's explained that He's our King. He would have said, your King has done for you. So this is Jesus pretty much freeing him and then wanting him to tell him about your King. Your King. I am going to be your King. Pretty much telling him that the future, as long as you are obedient to our Creator, you'll be with me in heaven. So they went about proclaiming this, and here is the correct city. Now we have that correct location. Whoops. This location, and I'm going to get it down like this so it doesn't pop up full screen anymore. Whoops, that went too far. Here we go. See, now it's the right location. Before, remember the text. Let's see if I just do this. If I scroll up here, in the last video, I had a hard time trying to explain that city by changing this word. Let's see. So the thing here is when they got to the other side of the lake, this is where I was going to put in this name, although this was on the returning from that city. But when I realized that the story was about these demons that were in this guy, and like I said, there's two stories how this is done. Or there's also actually two stories of how Jesus got there, and they're using one as he was sleeping and they wakened him up. Let's see here. He was by the stern asleep, and he woke and he says, do you not care if we are going to die? The other time is when he sends them to the out, and then he glides over the water and catches up with them. So that story, like I was trying to say in the last video, that there has to be somewhere where he returns from this area here, okay? And now that they landed by the other the text down here, way down here, where is it? Right here. It's talking about this city here. So hopefully I've catching up with those that have listened to the last video, and I want to make sure that I continually try to put those together with them and not let them hang and because I tried to explain that you needed the other city to be this city and that city to be this. I know it was confusing what I was saying, and it was kind of confusing because I actually got the stories mixed up, and then I did get the right story, but it's when you're doing these and I'm trying to do them from memory. I'm not really like the text, like I said, I done months ago. Okay. So to come back here and remember, maybe I should study it before I do a video, but um maybe I should just look it over generally and should be able to catch up with what I've said or done. Our creator has made me at least have a good memory of things that I know. That as long as you speak truthfully, you'll remember how true you were, and that truth comes back, and it's easier for me to recall the situation. I know that I had a buddy at work. I hadn't seen him in probably 25 years, but we ended up working together again, and he started questioning me about our creator and stuff again. And, and after I got that answer to questions, he looked at me and says, "Mike, you're so black and white, I can't believe it." And I says, "What?" He says, "Those questions I asked you were the same questions I asked you 25 years ago, and you've answered them exactly the same. You don't change." And I says, "Well, you can't change the truth once you get a hold of it. So, or when you realize it's the true truths, you always remember the same answer." So, but it was just, I did not know he was doing that to me. So it was just reconfirming what I had said, but it was done in a way that our creator was letting me know that 25 years difference, and I did the same exact answers. So that's what happens when I'm reading this text. A lot of it just comes right back. Except for when I start fumbling around. that's when I got to really do 3 or 4 things inside my head here. Okay, when Jesus crossed over again, now that's when he's coming back. Um, so he stayed at the lake shore. Okay, and then a synagogue attendant, not officials. They call them officials, but the attendants, from what we find later and what's the people that would have been leading the synagogue would have been Levites, but they would have had helpers from the community. So they really weren't officials of that gathering to get more people involved and stuff like that. So I'm calling them an attendant, not officials for the synagogue. But the officials for the synagogue would have been the ones doing the official teaching, and they had rules that they could kick people out or whatever. Those are officials. Attendants would have been someone that, when you read the story, makes more sense that he was an attendant, because, well, let me just go through here and just, that's why I used the word attendant and not officials. And he fell at his feet and begged him. My youngest daughter, not the little daughter, would have been youngest daughter, is dying, not at the point of death, but is dying. Like I said before, they knew that when people got ill and they couldn't break a fever or they couldn't do this and they continually getting weaker, yes, all those signs told them that yes, they're dying. So this is what he would have said, not at the point of death. But she is dying. says the same thing in one word. Come lay your hands on her that she not may get well. Now, he didn't come all the way there just to say may, okay? When they keep adding these words like this, you know that they're just incorrect when you know that uh, the the trust this guy had in Jesus, he wouldn't come all that way and to ask or tell him that my daughter's dying. Now, would you come and let her live? That she lives. So okay, um, yeah, just changing the multitude to a crowd because I'm sure there was a lot from the city that followed him, but they were coming. He was, he's walking down the road, most likely to the city or around by the city. There's different paths. Now remember, he's um, on his way down to Jerusalem at this time, even in this text, because all the water should be behind him. Everything about Lake Galilee should be behind him. If not, then that text is way out of order. But they were very close to him. Now, I pressing on him. No, they were close, and yes, they were stumbling to see who could get close as a crowd. But remember, Jesus is still walking, so they can't press around him. They didn't stop him, but the crowd, as he was walking, were coming to him. So a woman who had bleedings, hemorrhage is too big of a word for 12-year-old. Should I put I put bleedings, and I removed it for 12 years because this number really isn't true. If you have this um, low white blood cells, that when you get a cut, yes, you have these bleedings that you can't stop. And this is what she was worried about. And she endured, and in their day, they didn't know how to take care of it. But I put it down that she endured pain from many doctors, not physicians. They would have called them doctors. That you don't need a word from the word 2,000 years later stuck into the text. They would have been known as doctors or healers. Many healers. They would try different things on them to try to see if they could solve the answer and then be able to help other people. But the object here is and she, you don't need to say how much she spent on them, but the thing here is had endured much pain from many doctors, and it had gotten worse. That that it would bleed for a longer amount of time, and this would make the person weaker. So she wanted to be healed of this. And she came up in the crowd behind Jesus. So I was saying, like, he was walking forward and they were coming up, but she made his way through him and she touched him. And she knew if she had touched him, not thought, she was really knew if she touched him, she would be not well, but healed. So, and immediately she was healed. Okay. They used the word healed here. I used it up here. Okay. But this here, she would not know it. Okay. But the object is that she felt a difference of what happened to her inside her body, that she was healed. And this is how the word immediately, would know that she was healed. And here we're going to go through and Jesus is going to tell her that she's actually healed here. And Jesus, not perceiving, he knew his, not power, but his gift from our Creator to do these healings was given to him. It says proceeded from him, but his gift had gone forth, or had his gift healed him. So this proceeding from him had gone forth. This is still a double meaning that of what happened, but actually it's just his gift had healed her. So he turned around to the crowd and asked, didn't say, he said, who touched me? Not his garments. If you touch somebody's garments, it would not, sometimes it would not be recognized as actually by that person. Let's see. They wore hide skin, the sheep hide skin. So, example, if somebody would have touched like this here, of what I've got here on my shirt, you wouldn't really recognize that as a touch. So the word touch, he felt that she went to touch him, more solid. So just don't think that they could touch his clothing to get the healing. I didn't want that in there. Touched me. And he looked around and saw the woman. As he looked around, he saw the woman. And not who had done this, but looked around and saw the woman, because we know what he was asking about. So now the woman feared him. Doesn't need feared and trembling, for he was aware of what happened. So she came up to him and fell down before him, and then she told him the truth, why she touched him, in explaining about her bleeding. And he told her, your trust in me has made you healthy. This faith word, this is a faith is, it's not quite as equal as the word trust. So I've removed the word faith and put trust, because she had this knowledge of him being healed, and so she went and touched him, and then this would have given her this trust that I will be healed. Not really a faith, and has made you not well but healthy. Go with this peace, healed of your affliction. Well, this has already been said. You have been made healthy, has made you healthy. So these words here aren't needed. The word while, if I put up the text here, I'm sure that they used the word after. A lot of times that they did get it right, they just didn't use the right one of the text. Right choice. From they to someone came up. Oh, it came up to, okay, this is going back to the other story now. And this is from the house of to the synagogue. Someone came up to the synagogue official or attendant and told him, yeah, I don't think why trouble our teacher, this word anymore doesn't need to be there. So it reads really smooth down here. I'm hoping you are reading the text down here, and then kind of listening to me, or stopping the video and seeing all the changes I've done. I'm not, I will tell you when I'm changing a whole lot or needing to add in a lot. But otherwise, most of these changes you would recognize. And hopefully, like I said, that some of you just go and do some of this just to, like I was saying, those people that mark in their Bible, and their Bible is all different colors and stuff. Oh man, you ain't nothing. You put this stuff on here on the computer, you can look at all the colors that I can get. Look at what I can do with by forcing words being down smaller, leaving them there, but then right here, this is what it looks like when they're cleaned up. Just so much information of what can be shown, and you can learn from your own experience of what's going on here. So, but here, I made some text to myself. I moved a lot around. Usually it's the yellow here, but to under 40. Okay, I'm moving 37 under some text down here, and the next one, yeah, here I've noted it, that I've changed it there. So how do I get all that in this speech here at this time? Well, I got to do it fast here. I'm sure you can see that this is everything I've kind of got over. These two words just need to be attended. Do not grieve, not be afraid that your daughter has died. You aren't afraid when they die. You grieve for your daughter. So this is absolutely the wrong word. Grieve, only believe in me. Jesus is trying to reinforce this person's trust in him. So, and I needed to add this text because if you read down here, you'll see that this is what's happening. When I'm removing this sentence, he allowed no one to follow him except for these guys here, the three disciples, into the house of the attendant. Well, first he's got to get there, because where did he see these people mourning? You know, they were weeping and wailing. They were around the house. They knew that they were mourning. So this was either nearby. It was probably family out there, and not all of them that was a believer of Jesus, knowing him as the king. So, and what he could do as far as heal people. But this text here, he allowed no one to follow him into the house of the attendant. So what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of, let's see, that, this, and then I used A as to show different parts. But this is what I'm moving to the other text. Okay. And he told them, why weep for his daughter? Commotion, but the object is they're mourning, and yes, like weeping, yes, but why cry is pretty much what the word should be. Let me get rid of let me put this back, because right now I'm seeing that I'm going to use part of this verse with something else. So let me go down here and look real quick here. A is up here, A is here, and B is here, starting a new verse. Darn. Hmm. Trying to think why I've got A and B here and trying to, because B is here. He saw people mourning. B, B, he saw people mourning. Okay. That's what I did. This 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 means that this verse didn't have any of this here, okay? This was all one, this was all one sentence, and I need to divide the sentence up. Okay, that's what's going on here to get to A to B. That I needed part of this sentence still here to then take this text and move it. Sorry for the confusion. I got a little confused on it, but now that I finally realized what I had done, that this is 38 and this is 38, so it was all one verse, and I need to divide them up and only use the bottom part. And I had to add this text to put these two together. And then when we get down here, and this will be, I will go through it right here real quick, although you can read down here what's going on, and maybe let me do this for those of you that want to read the story all together and see why I moved the text, and I moved this down here. Okay, so now that you freeze the screen, because I'm going to get rid of this here now and try to explain what I'm doing here. I'm inserting it here into the text. I'm telling you, I moved it from up there down here. And then, of course, the mother and father are going to go in there, and he went into their daughter. So imagine that maybe the mother had already left the room where his daughter was at, because the people knew that she was already dead or thought she was dead. They didn't know Jesus was going to bring her back to life. So, yeah, I don't need to have all this other. He took along child's father and mother, because we know it was a daughter, not a child. And his own companions entered the room. Well, they weren't companions; they would have been disciples, but still, they entered where she was at. So that's where I'm going to quickly go to here, where he's going to heal her and raise her. And he took her hand, took her hand, and he said, "Well, this here doesn't need, if it can't be written in Hebrew or English, it's just made up words." So, because they had to sit here and explain to you what it is, but you don't even need any of this text. He said, "I say to you, rise up." Okay? And this is one of the few times that you can see that the parenthesis is there, that I'm saying that he did need these words, because they're interpreting these words. So I can't, if I made up my own words, I would say the same thing. I say to you, rise up, okay? But it's rare time because of whatever these words are. But the object here is their daughter rose, and she walked. Okay, she rose and began walking. I wouldn't use that word as long, but anyways, don't need to know that she's 12 years old. For the simple fact that isn't a child no longer, and he was referred to her as his littlest one. I made her youngest one. So I guess she could be 12. Depends on how old this guy would be. But I don't need the text. and they were amazed. The parents were amazed that he was there. And this is something that Jesus would not say. Okay, here again, give him strict order that no one should know about this. That's what he was there for. So stupid words by Jesus, put that another group, another word, a bunch of words that Jesus said that was stupid. Then he told them she should eat. Okay. I think this a good enough for a 40-minute. Yeah, it's almost exact. So getting there, I know it's slow sometimes, and sometimes I might be confusing. I know what I want to say, but I'm just saying it as if I was a listener hearing what I'm saying, then I'm missing parts of what I'm saying to explain everything. Yeah, sorry about that. But the object is you can slow these days down and check the text out. Everything should be, as I get to the end of the book, I go back and I put all the new links. So maybe by the time you arrive here, that underneath here, you'll have the link to follow on the second screen as you're watching here, and don't have to stop and edit the text, or, you can look at it for yourself. And hopefully a lot of these things that are in blue you can understand, especially if you've start studying or start listening to after probably the fifth or sixth one and video that I'm speaking about, that you get the idea that why these words are getting easily changed and why they're getting added. I mean, some of these become easy for understanding. And right now, I'm just trying to go through the major um, changes that I can think of here instead of going over everything.